Welcome to the Campaign for Wool stand. It is Wool Week. We are celebrating everything to do with wool. And it is a real pleasure to welcome Victoria Stapleton, who is the founder of Brora here. And we're going to be having a chat all about Brora, about wool. She's here for our Wool Guru series. So firstly, a big happy birthday, because this year Brora celebrates 25 years, which is quite incredible. Yeah. How does it feel?
Yeah, no, it's been an amazing journey, and I had no idea that Brora would be where it is today, 25 years ago. But what's also really nice is that it's still a small, very personal business. Yeah. And I think about all the people who started. There must have been something going on 25 years ago, because there are so many businesses I know that started around then. It was sort of the White Company and Bowden, Cath Kidston, Lulu Guinness, Toast, all those sort of businesses that are very much on my sort of arena.
Yeah.
Started around then. And of course, most of them are now vast empires and, own the world. And it's really nice to have somehow managed to have kept the business not only 100% personally owned, but also sort of so personally run.
Yeah.
And I think then that goes into why we can use so many wool products and why we can make in England so much, or Scotland, or the British Isles. And
what's your approach been over the past 25 years? Why do you think there's such a vast difference between, some of the companies you just mentioned and Brora?
Yeah, I know. So funny. I was in my store in Sloane Square yesterday for the day, and I just feel like it's so different to any other retail shop. Yeah. And I don't know whether it's something to do with the fact that it's just so personal to me, and everything in the store I completely love and would buy myself, or I imagine my mother in it, or I imagine my sisters in it, or I imagine my children in it. And I so feel the aesthetic comes from my soul and where I was brought up and all the things that I do with my life. And I don't know, I think that personal touch is so unique to Brora.
Absolutely.
And also, I'm actually not a huge follower of the big fashion trends. I prefer to do things that I feel really comfortable with, that are my own personal style. And, things like Fair Isle have been in the Brora collection right from the beginning. Things like Harris Tweed have been in the collection right from the beginning. And, it doesn't date.
Yeah. It's classic.
Yeah.
It's sort of timeless pieces that, obviously you kind of invest in a Brora piece and then you keep it for years and years and years, and it's still relevant.
Yeah, and
that's my experience.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I love it when people come into the store and say, do you know what, I've got a Brora jumper that I must have had for, over 20 years. I remember when you only had one shop on the King's Road and I bought it from there. And that is a real treat to me. That is like music to my ears.
Well, a big congratulations for reaching 25 years. Well, obviously, sort of, how has the industry changed? What have you sort of seen over the past 25 years within your experience?
I think the big thing has been such a strong move away from manufacturing in the UK. Yeah. And therefore, mills that I was working with at the beginning haven't been able to manage to keep up, and I have seen quite a lot of doors closing. And I suppose all that's made me is more determined to use and work with the mills, even in a small way. And the only reason I would like, I suppose, the sales or the business to be that much bigger was because I could bring a bigger order book. Instead of ordering 500 metres from Harris Tweed, I might be able to order 2,000 metres. But then the business changes again. So I think seeing some of the mills close, and also I think the quality of clothing on the high street today is really pretty shoddy. And if you go and look inside labels, and actually I think this is really important that people do this a bit more, and where their clothes are being made, where are they coming from. And I know there's been a few documentaries on the television and things recently, but I really, really want that message to get out.
Yeah.
I think people are very aware of where their food comes from. They're very aware now. So many people are not eating meat anymore, and so many people are going, vegan and vegetarian and things. And I just think that maybe that needs to go into other parts of their lives.
Yeah,
because
to
people
seep
buy
into fashion.
in a way, they just think, oh, it's nice, I'm going to look great in it, I'm going out on Friday night, this is what I'm going to wear. But actually, who made your clothes?
Yeah, it's all now. I feel like there's a much bigger move towards slow fashion. So how do you think we can encourage people to use to have, you know, to kind of embrace slow fashion?
Yeah, I think that hopefully maybe the fashion influencers and bloggers, if a lot of them can get behind it, because the millennials, the next generation down, do listen to that message, and it seems to be the fastest way of getting a message out there.
Yeah.
And so I think it sort of needs to be this viral message that gets out. So, you know, we will obviously keep doing what we do at Brora, but, you know, we don't have nearly as much influence as all those people who've got, you know, hundreds of thousands of followers.
Sure.
And they need to sort of get that message across. And in a way, it's a real responsibility of theirs, because they are showing different fashion every day.
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously they're being paid good money to, you know, wear the Topshop thing or wear the Zara thing. But I think there needs to be maybe a little bit more responsibility going alongside that.
That's a really interesting point. Now, obviously, you've mentioned Harris Tweed, and you're wearing a Brora Harris Tweed suit.
So amazing.
Tell me about the process that goes into making this, because it really is quite special.
Yeah, so I don't know how many of you know about Harris Tweed, but the weavers have their looms, and they are run by cycling. So the warp and the weft of the wool is made in that way. So it is a very slow process, but not as slow as you sort of imagine. I actually asked yesterday how much to have 4 or 5 meters to make this suit, and it would have taken about an hour to make the cloth. So we're not taking 2 days,
No,
you know?
sure.
But still, if that was on a machine, it would have clunked out in 5 minutes.
Yeah,
you know?
of course. Yeah.
So it is a much slower way of making the cloth. And then if you can come and inspect it later.
Please do.
It has got so many colours within it. And that's what's so joyous, is that you could put that with almost any different knitwear on top, and it would sort of work with it. It's incredibly lovely and warm to wear. Harris Tweed used to be something that was quite sort of really scratchy, and I don't know what they've managed to do with it, because they've kept the sort of authenticity of the cloth, but it's much softer than it used to be.
Yeah.
Not so bad, you know.
Because that also looks quite thick, but
yeah, it is thick, and it's very much, you know, a winter
coat,
suit. But and then what's special about Brora is, instead of then sending that off to Morocco or, you know, some of the usual places that might do the tailoring, we have a unit down in North London around Walthamstow, where we've got a team of sort of British tailors. So what we usually do is we make our first bit of our first round of jackets, and we keep a bit of cloth back.
Yes.
But then we can very quickly make some more. And if we run out of size 14, we'll say to the guy, can you make another 20 size 14s?
So what's the turnaround on that? Say, for example, you know, you do sell out of the size 14. How long, and from the moment that you make that phone call to then it's back in the shops?
Well, simply because it's made half an hour from my office, we can probably make some more within a week.
Wow.
If we've got the cloth.
That's amazing.
But I mean, obviously no other retailer can do that. They get their goods in for the season. So in a way, we're keeping the customer happy too. And it's quite a security net for us, because we will make a certain amount of things. And you just don't know. You know, you can't predict whether it's going to be the size 8 or the size 16 or you know, who's going to be really buying it. So it's a really good one to have up your sleeve.
And then obviously, it's, as you say, because of the different kind of like colours, it's sort of a timeless classic as well, and you can match it. So you kind of invest in one of these suits, really. It's not something that you just
I really hope anyone who's bought it this season will have it in 20 years' time.
And what is the difference between, for example, something like this and, you know, one of the suits that you could maybe buy off the high street?
Well, so firstly, this is 100% wool.
Yeah.
So anything on the high street, it's bound to be a blend of man-made fibres, quite a lot of acrylic, quite a lot of polyester. Sometimes those things can be put into a yarn to make it more hard-wearing, or machine washable even. But generally, it'll be just a small amount of wool and a lot of man-made fibre. But probably not woven here.
No.
I mean, most likely not.
As a guesstimate,
and definitely made, depending on the high street stores. Some people would make in places like Portugal, which is very good, and they're really brilliant, and they're factories are state-of-the-art and modern, and we do make some things in Portugal. I'm really I love the Portuguese, and I love everything about, what they do.
Why Portugal over other countries?
It's funny. It's like, people ask me why cashmere is in Hawick or why pottery is in Stoke-on-Trent.
Yeah.
And the Portuguese have got this culture and heritage in sewing and seamstressing, and they are incredibly talented as a nation. And it just seems to be something in their DNA, and it's obviously been passed down through the generations. So whereas that sort of died off in the UK so much, it's really a cultural thing in Portugal.
And obviously it has died off in so many parts of the UK, but I feel like you are keeping so many mills kind of still in business. And tell me a little bit about the weaver's contribution to the finished woolen product, which obviously might sell for thousands, but what is that sort of story and what is their contribution?
Yeah, it's a really interesting one, because I obviously spend a lot of time, going to the mills, and that is like one of the most fun things, is going around the factory and seeing what stage things are at, and especially when it's something that is going to be yours.
Yeah.
And so if you go up and they're weaving the cloth that's going to be part of your collection, or knitting the sleeve of something or the front of that jumper.
It must be a really satisfying kind of thing
It's
to do.
amazing. It's amazing. And then you talk to the people who's doing that particular bit, and they might be sewing on buttons. And they might be sewing on buttons all day.
Yeah.
Every day.
Wow.
And, there's a real camaraderie between the often ladies, in the sewing rooms. And they have their booth, so they've got their area, and they'll have photographs of all their grandchildren and all their loved ones sort of around. Yeah. But they might also have the odd sort of celebrity wearing, one of their. We'll get a picture of you, shall we? Put it in the booths. Anyway, so it's quite sweet. They sort of very much have their bits and pieces around them that are personal to them, and they have a real love of what they're doing. Yeah. Again, it's something that very often in the mills, it's a family affair.
Sure.
Their great-grandmother would have worked in the mill, or their grandfather, and it is this sort of skill, knowledge, satisfaction, family thing
and
that
expertise.
Sort of goes, and exactly, an extraordinary expertise. So, they are the unsung hero.
Sure.
So I think that's what we're sort of coming back to. People look at these things on the shop floor, but they have no idea about the origin, and also how many processes something goes through to get to the shop floor.
Sure.
So, you start with a design team looking at all these cloths and saying, are we going to use this? Are we going to use this? Well, I quite like this pattern, but it needs a bit more mustard in it.
Yeah.
Or I quite like this check, but I want some chocolate brown running through it. And then the mill has to come back and make another sample with a bit of that colour running through it. And
there's so much sort of tweaking until kind of like, that you're sort of happy with the finished product.
I mean, certainly at Brora there is, because our range isn't very big. I think when you're mass producing and you've got 100 jackets in a collection, but my head of buying will say to me, Victoria, you're allowed 5 jackets in this winter collection. And I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to only make 5 jackets?
Just
I've got to make 5 jackets and I've got to keep the 25-year-old happy and the 85-year-old happy. And I'm not about age at Brora. It's all about style, and I love the great grandmother, and I love, funnily enough, in Brora yesterday in Stone Square, I had 2 lots of grandmother and granddaughter shopping together.
Wow.
And one of them, the granddaughter, who was 18, bought these trousers.
Great.
While the grandmother bought a big mohair jumper and a wool Loch Karen tweed skirt, a long skirt. And then there was another pair together. And I just thought, which shop in the whole of the UK can you think of where the grandmother and granddaughter come in together and they both walk out with their bag and they're both equally happy and feeling stylish? I mean, that's
amazing.
Really cool.
Now, talking about style, you have created this jumper here, especially for Wool Week this year. Sort of talk to me about the story behind this, because I know that it didn't initially look like this when you started out. There's been a few tweaks.
No, so when I love getting involved with Campaign for Wool every year, because I just think it's so intrinsically part of what we do at Brora, and I really believe in the message that they're getting across. So it's really nice for us to get involved. And I think that it gives us an opportunity to do one special piece.
Yeah.
So when we began to talk about it, and then I went back to my knitwear designer at the office and I said, okay, what is this special piece going to be? And let's make sure it's British wool and it's British spun. So we had just been in touch with a mill in Yorkshire called Laxton's, which all the sheep, all the wool comes locally sourced, and the colours are very, very muted. So they're like natural dyes. There's not, harsh dyes that go into it. And so in a way, that's your starting palette. It's like, okay, if that's the range of colours, what can we do with that to make it feel right? It can't be some big colour block jumper, because it doesn't sort of work like that. And I thought, actually, people love our Icelandic sort of Fair Isle knits. They're such an authentic Brora piece. So we started with that, and actually the first one had a white base, and it arrived at the office, and I just thought, oh God, I just don't think it's quite right. It was white and it had some purples and greens up here, and it was nice, but it was just like, no, would I wear it? No, I wouldn't wear it. And I want to almost feel like I can imagine me or somebody I know very well just being able to wear that piece. And so we changed the colours completely, kept the patterning, and made this second sample, of which I'm thrilled with. And we launched it on Monday, and by the end of yesterday, we had sold over half of what we made. But we made a limited edition. We made 100 pieces, and that's sort of also quite special. So if you buy one, there are only 100 of that jumper in the world. And they won't ever be reproduced again.
And that's quite amazing. And if you, again, you come, feel free to have a look at me afterwards. But sort of like all of the different colours and the speckles that sort of come out on this, it's kind of every time you look down, it looks a little bit different.
I know, because actually in some lights it looks grey, and in some lights it looks blue.
And then and also greeny as well. So
Yeah.
it's a really gorgeous jumper. So.
And yesterday, again, somebody I know really well, who's younger than me and very groovy and a bit of a, person, I'm not going to say who, came in, and I was wearing it, and she bought it. And then one of my really older customers who'd come up from Tunbridge Wells, especially to see me for the day, who was in her 70s, she came in and bought it.
So nice.
So again, it was that sort of, it's crossing all generations.
And I think what I love as well is when you do go into Brora and you're there, and yesterday I know that some people travel down from Yorkshire to come and see you. So you're very much involved in the sort of, styling people on the shop floor, and, you kind of pop these looks together, and, people come to you for that.
Yeah, I think it's really nice. I mean, when you've designed the collection, you sort of have people in mind who you think are going to be wearing it. You visualize it, and then I have the pleasure of putting about, 150 outfits together when I put the range together for our brochures and for our campaigns and our photo shoots. And so when people actually come in with the brochure and they say, I'd really like that look. And yesterday I served two ladies, one who came in completely for a look, and she bought the whole look. And it's like something she would never have put together for herself. And then another lady came in and said, I've already bought 2 trousers from you this season, but I really need top halves to go with these trousers. And we spent 2 hours together.
Wow.
And she bought...
There's not many people who do that.
No, I know. But, it's really satisfying to me, because she walked out so happy. I love Brora. She was my age. I could relate to her completely. She was similar colouring to me, actually, so everything was quite earthy. She bought the sort of sludgy green trousers, and she wanted brick colours and clay. She didn't want to wear black, didn't want to wear darker, because she wanted some colour in her life, but sort of subtle, earthy colour. So, no, it was a real treat.
Good. Now, I know obviously you use lots of different types of wool, and the jumper that you're wearing is actually merino wool.
Yes.
And I've been told that you can actually put those in the washing machine.
I know, amazing.
Is that true?
Absolutely amazing, yes. And I've had this jumper for 3 weeks, and I've already washed it twice, and it's still the same size. So, yes, we basically do a range of merino knitwear, which we started doing about 5 years ago. I mean, what happened was we when the business started, we were very much cashmere-based, and it comes from this amazing old mill in Hoyt that's been going since 1797, and it's an incredible mill, and I adore our cashmere, and I know it's the best in the world. other people like Chanel and Hermes make at the mill. It's absolutely the best. But obviously that comes with a price tag.
Yeah.
Not a Chanel Hermes price tag, but it's still a £300 price tag for a jersey. So then people were saying, I absolutely love your jumpers. I love Brora, but I can't afford that.
Sure.
Can you do something else that's got your stamp about it, that's got your feel and your aesthetic about it, but in a not such expensive yarn? So that's when we started to do lots in mohair, lots in wool, different types of wool, and then started the merino range. And actually it's really interesting to work with the merino range because you can't do chunky knits in it. It doesn't work as a chunky knit. It's a very fine fibre and it's very drapey. So you have to get your head around what's going to work from a styling perspective in that. So we've done knits with lots of sort of colour blocking and stripes.
And this is the kind of wool that you can get all your really strong colour blocks, whereas with a wool like this, is it harder to do? Is that true?
Well, you can do it that, but for some people this is very chunky and it bulks them out and things. So in a way, this is a sort of very fine drapey wool and it's very flattering. And I do think that in this day and age, so many people love the idea of being able to put something in the washing machine.
Yeah.
Just
makes everything so much easier.
It really does make life easier. And put it in the washing machine and no, it's not going to shrink because most people are like, I'm going to put it in and I'm just literally going like this and closing my eyes and is it going to come out?
I've lost many a good jumper to that before and it's very upsetting.
Anyway, these washing machines, we heard about these machines yesterday. They've got a steam cycle where you can just put in a tweed jacket and it just gets steamed for 20 minutes and it takes out all the odour and without washing it.
Yeah, because that's the thing about obviously having a wool sort of this kind of Harrison tweed suit. It's like, how do you care for that?
Well, I think I have a thing about them slightly self-cleaning themselves, but it is true. Yeah. Sheep's wool is very, it's very organic like that. So I mean, some people might think it sounds disgusting, but I really wouldn't. At the end of a season, I would have normally had this dry cleaned, but at the end of having worn it
once.
But now I'm really keen on this AEG thing, this steaming. I think it's absolutely miraculous.
Yeah.
I'm upgrading.
Chuck your jacket in and see if it works.
Yeah, I know. I might leave them with it today, and they can put it through and see what happens.
And collect it.
So I do think that actually there are new things happening.
Yeah.
I think these washing machines are getting better and better.
Yeah, the technology is keeping up with our demand and what we want. It to do for our nearest and dearest,
and what's
products.
really annoying is actually so many of your suppliers make you put dry clean on the label because they're covering themselves. So a lot of our silk shirts might say dry clean on them, but on the side I say to the customer, don't worry, you can put that in the silk wash. And with it also the thing that people don't realise, you should always use a tiny amount of detergent.
Yeah.
People just get the thing and they go, oh, chuck it in.
Yeah.
It's like, so you don't need it. It's so strong, all that chemical,
so
that you only need, and it's rare that something's really dirty.
Yeah.
We're always washing things all the time.
Yeah.
So, it just needs a refresh, doesn't it? So a little bit of soap goes a long way.
And how, for example, how would you, obviously this week it's all about careability, how would you care for a jumper like this? So say if you were going to...
Personally, I would hand wash it actually.
Yeah.
Because I would be nervous about something like that shrinking. And then I would use, at Brora we have a sort of non-chemical wash.
Yeah.
So it's like a hand wash thing that you can put in, and it gets a little bit of soap, but it's not,
Loads,
big, because it hasn't got the chemicals in it. But you just, and do the usual warm water, give it a nice squeeze out, and lie it flat on a towel. And I wouldn't actually put it near the washing machine.
Okay.
But, again, it doesn't need washing too often.
Yeah, every sort of...
you're never going to wear it against your skin.
No, exactly. So as long as you don't sweat profusely in it.
Yeah.
Don't charge around London on the tube in it, basically.
No, exactly. Exactly.
So, obviously, the way that Brora works, and you've sort of mentioned it within kind of, you have this ability to create very small kind of amounts of products and runs of things in a very sort of short space of time. Is there a sort of a collaboration that you, or a brand or someone that you would love to collaborate with that it hasn't quite happened yet?
Do you know who I'd love to collaborate with? And I randomly wrote to her once, but probably got the wrong address. And if she's listening, but she won't be, is Jane Birkin.
Oh,
I think Jane Birkin is
that would be
the ultimate cool, and she used to shop in our Kings Road shop. like 20 years ago, I would serve her, and she loved Brora. You know, if you look at all the old pictures of Jane Birkin, she's often wearing a Fair Isle jumper or something, and I do think she is the ultimate cool. And the other person who I adore, and I know shops at Brora, and I think she's so cool, and I'd love to collaborate with her, is Joanna Lumley.
Oh, another really good one.
Yeah.
Right, well, I'll get on social media.
I think
and we'll have
both Jane Birkin and Joanna Lumley. How amazing!
The two J's.
I mean, I'm a real admirer of the older generation of
100%.
those sort of women who are just taking life with them all the way.
And also just so effortless with their style as well.
Yeah.
It just came so naturally. I'd like to say a huge thank you to Victoria for coming in and for
having
sharing her
me.
story and all the wonderful things that Brora do. And hopefully we'll see you again next year.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks very
Thank
much.
you.